the so-called Epstein victims who have received over $100 million.
So-called Epstein victims. We should call that out for what that is. That's a bullshit.
No, it's not. They are saying that they are Epstein victims and they have been paid. They can come out and say, no one is stopping them. I would welcome them. I would encourage them.
The truth is, okay, guys, the truth is,
if you want to make it a Democrat,
what people are fed up with, they're fed up with the fact that people are going in this country and they're carrying water for pedophiles in America. That's what they're fed up with, Clay.
Actually, Democrat donors actually look at the evidence. I do not believe that every
you
Democrat
said that they're fed up.
I mean, genuinely, guys, this is a mad one. In this clip, we are going to see a Piers Morgan panel just descend on one of the panelists simply because of his vile rhetoric in regards to the actual victims of Jeffrey Epstein, where he refers to them as so-called victims. Absolutely crazy stuff. But this isn't the first time we've seen people that are on the right part of MAGA that will literally try and utilize the victims like they're telling lies. As usual, look, let's watch the clip in full. I'm going to try to save my commentary towards the end, but if I do need to chime in with something, I will do so. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it.
Well, let's hear now from my panel. Isaiah Martin is a Democrat congressional candidate in Texas. It was just gone viral after taking on 20 Republicans in this week's Jubilee. Mike Nellis is host of Endless Urgency, the strategist behind White Dudes for Harris. And Clay Travis is founder of Outkick. And Tyrus is on his way and will be joining us very soon. Okay, just first of all, Clay Travis, let's just talk about this Epstein scandal. Because it is completely bizarre sitting here in London, watching people go down like dominoes. And these are not insignificant figures. You've got the former Prince Andrew in line to the throne of the UK, obviously. You've got Lord Mandelson, who was a UK ambassador to the United States. He's gone. They've both been completely torched as a consequence of what's emerged about them in these files. But we're not seeing that in America. Why are we not? And do you want us to?
Well, I think, first of all, there should be people bearing consequences who were involved in actually some sort of activity with girls alongside of Epstein. And I think you have seen a lot of Americans lose their jobs. I mean, the head of one of the biggest law firms in the United States lost his job. You've seen people in media lose jobs recently that they've gotten. But I think also people are looking at some of the details and saying there's a difference. For instance, Howard Lutnick's being attacked right now, and you can criticize him for continuing to interact with Jeffrey Epstein, certainly. But he went to Epstein Island with his wife and a bunch of kids on a cruise trip to the Caribbean. And so all connections are not the exact same. I think what you're actually seeing in the United States is there's being a lot of discernment as to what was going on. I'll also add in, there's so much volume here that I do think a lot of people are just frankly overwhelmed with the 3 million different documents that are out there and all the different names that are flooding the zone. I think there's some degree of people just being overwhelmed with the sheer amount of people that were involved here across all the landscape. And so, again, I think there's some discernment when it comes to actual interaction. Are these business partners? Are these people who were involved with women or not? Are these people that may have even gone to the island, as I said, in the case of Howard Lutnick, and done so with their wife and with their kids, which I think is quite a lot different than the crimes that Epstein was accused of committing.
Okay, Mike Nellis, I mean, notwithstanding, a lot of what Clay said there, I'm sure is right, but people want accountability. And as I said to Congresswoman Mace, the fact that there are going to be more than 3 million documents from the Epstein files that apparently are not going to be made public strikes me as absolutely staggering. And of course, that's going to do nothing but inflame all the raging conspiracy theories.
I think that's absolutely right, is people should be incredibly angry that nobody is being prosecuted for this. And let's be clear about what's happening here. The Department of Justice under Donald Trump and Pam Bondi are covering this up. Let's not forget that in July, over the July 4th weekend, they told us that this investigation was over. and that there was nothing there? How many times do we have to hear that Donald Trump isn't in the Epstein files, then we find out he's in there a million times? How many times do we have to listen to guys like Howard Lutnick say, I met Jeffrey Epstein once, and then it turns out he was a creep, and I wasn't there? You keep unwinding this stuff, and you find that these guys have been lying for so long. So the reason there isn't accountability either criminally or just in polite society like Nancy Mace talked about earlier is because Donald Trump is at the heart of this because these guys are covering it up. Howard Lutnick says, I didn't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein. He only lived next door to the guy, started a business with the guy, and brought his kids, which to me is disgusting, on a trip to Epstein Island after it was already known that the guy was a registered sex offender. Donald Trump is out there saying, I didn't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein and what he was doing, except he was talking about it. He partied with the guy. He met his wife, his current wife, at an Epstein party. Not to mention the fact that he's mentioned the files over a million times. So it's embarrassing to me. And to your point, Piers, all over Europe, people are having their careers destroyed because of their relationship with a guy who is a registered sex offender who trafficked kids. And that's not happening in the United States. And it's embarrassing. And frankly, it's embarrassing when MAGA bootlickers come on and defend this stuff because it's an 80-20 issue to the vast majority of Americans who are pissed. Kids were abused here. We got to take this seriously.
We have, but Isaiah Martin, I mean, you know.
Well, the government hasn't. You're taking it seriously, Piers, which I appreciate.
What crimes specifically should be charged?
Well, at a bare minimum, we know that there were kids that were trafficked. How is it possible that Ghislaine Maxwell is the only person that's ever going to be prosecuted for that?
Well, because she trafficked. I mean, if you read the indictment,
she trafficked them by herself. Is your position? Wait, hold on, Clay. Is your position that Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked these kids by herself?
She trafficked them for Jeffrey Epstein. That is what the charges
but by
show.
herself,
That's
nobody else helped. There were 1,000 little boys and 1,000 little girls that were trafficked on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein by Ghislaine Maxwell. But is she the only one who did it?
That is not accurate based on the evidence. I just asked a simple question. You want people prosecuted. Who should be prosecuted and what should they be charged with?
Yeah, I want the 6 co-conspirators to be prosecuted for trafficking little kids.
Okay,
and I want the rest of these people. Hold on, Clay. I'm answering your question.
I'm a lawyer, so this matters to me. When you say people should be charged, and when you
human
say
trafficking is a crime, you might want to check your penal code.
Charged, who and with what crimes? Let me also ask you this, as we lead into that: why did Joe Biden not charge anybody? Why did Barack Obama not charge anybody? Do you think the only thing that Democrats and Republicans agree on is that Jeffrey Epstein should be protected and everybody else around him should be protected? Look. The reality here, in my opinion, is if you actually look at the evidence that came out, Trump in 2006 said, thank the Lord, basically, I'm paraphrasing, in the actual Epstein files in 2006, that you were able to charge this guy. We all knew that things were going on that were inappropriate. You can't go after Donald Trump on this at all. Do you really think that Joe Biden
hold on. Let's talk about that for a second.
Evidence that Trump committed crimes when he tried to imprison him for the rest of his life over bogus charges in New York City, when he tried to put him in prison, bankrupt him? You think he's set on Epstein? This just doesn't add up. So again, I circle back to the basic question. Who should be charged and what should they be charged with based on your reading of the evidence? Specifically, tell me.
So this is a clever trick that these MAGA influencers like to do, is that they want to blame this on Joe Biden.
How is it a clever trick?
Hey, Clay, let me finish my point. Hold on, and then you can tell me why I'm wrong. But let me finish my point.
I said,
I answered your question already, Clay, but you keep interrupting me. All right, listen.
So
this is what they want to do.
Tell us what the charges should be.
This entire thing is a failure of multiple administrations. There are Democrats and Republicans in the file. And the bottom line here is that there's an Epstein class and its defenders like Clay, and there's everybody else. And so right now they're defending Donald Trump, who's been covering this up. There are 6 co-conspirators. Clay, there are 6.
Everybody should be charged with crimes.
No, that's not what I said, Clay. There are 6.
You can't even give me a name or a crime.
Do you realize how obtuse you sound at the idea that nobody else can be charged by this? There are 6 co-conspirators in the files that Congress has seen that are currently blocked off. You can't tell me that 1,000 little girls and boys were trafficked and nobody else.
And what the crimes
I don't know their names because they're concealing them in the files, Clay, because the Trump administration is covering this up.
Do you know what?
So you're telling me to tell you something that I don't know.
Time out.
But this is just one thing I want to say really quick. Why is it that people are on the right that are lovers of Donald Trump, why is it that when it comes to this conversation, the attitude that it is that they have is always Donald Trump has done nothing wrong, there's nothing to see here, it's time to move on, and then overall they victim blame? We saw it yesterday with that Lady Victoria woman, and we're now seeing it with this guy here, Clay, on the right hand side. Why do they have this energy towards it?
All right.
Time out. You know, the bottom line, Clay, is this. The best way to work out who should be prosecuted and who should be charged is for every one of these files to be released unredacted.
Transparency.
With the exception of the names of the victims. Hang on. With the exception of the names of the victims, right? So that everyone knows exactly who's been accused of what, and then everyone can determine who should potentially be prosecuted or not. Because they're going to keep back 3 million files, the suspicion will continue that this is a powerful
here's what I would
cover-up.
say. Here's what I would say about that. All of the women who receive payments, and I believe they received about $120 million in payments from the Epstein estate after he died. All of them are free to go out and name exactly who they say assaulted them, who they say victimized them in any way. They have complete ability to do that. The so-called Epstein victims who have received over $100 million.
So-called Epstein victims. We should call that out for what that is. That's a bullshit.
No, it's not. They are saying that they are Epstein victims and they have been paid. They can come out and say, no one is stopping them. I would welcome them. I would encourage them. Come out and tell us.
Well, actually, quite a few. Hang on. Quite a few. Okay, but Clay, quite a few. Quite a few are beginning to do that. Quite a few are beginning to do that. So it's going to be interesting how many more follow that path. Isaiah, you've been waiting very patiently. What's your view of where we are with this scandal?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that this is a entire view of the Republican Party right here with Clay, the so-called Epstein victims. Look, ultimately, I think if the Republicans wanted to end this situation, they would call and join the millions of Americans that are saying that we want to see the unredacted Epstein files. 3 million files currently sit as we stand today that are redacted. And people want to see the truth. And the fact that you have MAGA running around carrying water for Trump, as Mike said, claiming that these victims are so-called victims or whatever it is, it's a shame to the American public. And it's why the Republican Party is losing trust all around this country. I think it's abundantly clear. It's why they're losing special elections everywhere we see, because of the fact that they are losing the trust of the American people. And I think that what Clay just said makes that abundantly clear.
I don't think that Republicans actually have any particular opinion. I'm sharing my opinion. I think actually the majority of people
so-called Epstein victims.
Fed up with the Epstein situation in general. My position is, if you actually look at the evidence, I do not believe that every Democrat in power and every Republican in power conspired to cover up a bevy of charges that would otherwise have been brought. And by the way, if you want to make it a Democrat,
what people are fed up with, they're fed up with the fact that people are going in this country and they're carrying water for pedophiles in America. That's what they're fed up with, Clay.
Are actually Democrat donors like Jeffrey Epstein. If you want to make it a Democrat-Republican issue, there are way more.
Clay, this is what's so insane about this situation. We have said from the very beginning that we support every single person that is inside of the Epstein files that has been assaulting children.
You know the truth.
We want to call them out. We want to see them prosecuted.
That's what we say. The truth is, the Biden administration didn't release these files. The Trump administration promised to and hasn't released all the files. So the American people and the watching world, because this affects many other countries too, are looking on going, who is actually going to honor the claim to be transparent? And I think until there is proper transparency on this, this is going to go on and on and on and on. And actually, someone at some stage has to go, you know what? We're going to put it all out there, because until that happens, the conspiracy theories will rage. I want to move on. So,
I mean, guys, I'm not sure if you heard, but I was itching at the bit to interject on some of the points. What's wrong with MAGA? What's wrong with MAGA? What is wrong with the right? I don't understand. Is this all of the defense that they're running for Donald Trump? I really can't understand it. The thing that they have to understand when they ask that question, oh, why didn't Biden? Why didn't this person? Why didn't that person? Look, first and foremost, number one, Joe Biden did not say that he was going to didn't run his campaign on the premise and say in an interview, I'm going to release the Epstein files. That's number one. Number two, Joe Biden didn't have people in his cabinet, in his administration, that said they're going to drain the swamp and they're going to expose people in the Epstein files. Donald Trump did. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. They're the two things. Number 3, neither Joe Biden nor Barack Obama is named in the Epstein files over 1 million times. Only one person is Donald Trump. That like that's it. That is what makes it such a different situation. And then if we take it a step further, when we take it a step further and we really think about it, look how much evidence that we've seen that there was a close-knit relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Like this is something that's out there in plain sight. Multiple pictures, multiple videos of them at parties together. Like, it's not beyond belief for someone to say, I believe there's a high probability that Donald Trump potentially has something to do with the Epstein files. It's not beyond belief to say that. But the reality is this, and I believe this is the stance that everybody on the left, or not even the left, because like I said, this isn't right or left. Everybody of a sane mind, they don't care if you're Democrat, if you're Republican here in the United Kingdom, whether you're Labour, whether you're the Conservatives, it doesn't matter who you are. If you committed crimes with young children, a price needs to be paid. And the only country right now that isn't making any moves when it comes to the Epstein files, it is the United States of America, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. We're seeing the monarchy at its knees at the moment. A government right now is potentially about to be toppled as a result of the Epstein files. The princess in Norway is no longer eligible to be queen, to be able at some point because of the Epstein files. That's accountability. But it looks like America, supposedly the most powerful country in the world, the country who sets the bar for the rest of the world, it seems like they're going to allow the elites to get away with it. And it's sickening. But people like this Clay, are on the right-hand side of the screen. These are the people that enable it. These are the people, enablers, we like to call them. And it's disgusting stuff. The fact that you call them so-called victims is vile. But it doesn't surprise me, because that's MAGA. And that's today's Republican Party. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this clip, on this exchange down in the comment section below. I will leave the link to the full exchange. This is a tiny segment of it. While you guys are down there, do me a favor, just hit the thumbs up button purely for the YouTube algorithm. And if you like clips like these and you're interested in commentary, a perspective and a point of view from somebody from the outside looking in that lives across the pond, guys, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.